Newsletters are a fantastic way to keep in touch with all different types of stakeholders. You can keep in touch with other sites if you're a multi-site program, letting them know what you're working on recently. You can keep in touch with parents, families. You can keep in touch with other stakeholders, maybe funders, or even the schools that you work within. Newsletters are a great way to get out the word about what you've been working on in the past week, past month, whatever it might be. So some best practices with newsletters are to keep in mind that the content is more important than the frequency. If you don't have enough information to send out a newsletter every week, don't. People would rather get your newsletter and say, wow, this information is really interesting, than seeing a new one each week with repeated content or with things that just aren't that relevant. If they keep seeing that it's not interesting, not relevant, eventually they'll stop reading. And if that's in their inbox, that's a really easy click to delete. Or if it's paper at your program, it's easy for them to just pass on by. If it's in the kid's backpack, just recycle it. So make sure that you're always keeping your content relevant and making that content good content, because the frequency is not what matters. That's not what sticks with people. People don't say, oh, I just love that they, send me something every week. It has to be, wow, that information in there was really interesting. Make sure that in your newsletter that the information, like I said, is relevant, but also timely. If it is October, you probably don't need to talk about spring break camp yet. If your registration's opening and it's going to fill quickly, then that makes sense. But make sure that the information is timely and you're not talking about something that was important a month ago or is important 6 months from now. Also, know your audience. How you present something in your newsletter can vary a lot depending on your audience. For example, say that you're going to do a canned food drive at your program. If you want to make one newsletter that's going to go to everybody, then you need to think about it in a few different ways. If you're asking parents to help participate in the canned food drive, then you're going to need to really promote it. Say, this is why it's important. Your kids already know. The kids are excited. This is what specifically we're asking for. We are, mostly need baby food is a thing that we really need a lot of, whatever it is. If you're going to be sending this to the school, then you're going to really want to hype up how much the kids loved it and how important it was and how you're focusing on building community, citizenship, and those different pieces. If you have a newsletter that's the same and going to everybody, keep in mind who's reading it and which pieces of that you want to include. It might be all of them, and you might be able to find a way to do that, but really be considerate about your audience. Also, if possible, provide it electronically and in paper form, knowing what your audience wants. If you know that a lot of the people you're sending to don't have much access to technology, you should certainly have a paper copy. But if you know that a lot of the people would prefer to get it by email, then don't print out that many. If you're just starting a newsletter, it's great to send it out and then also have a stack printed. And then you can count, maybe just start off by printing 50. And then you can count how many have been taken and then print more if need be. But if you see that a lot of parents or stakeholders, whoever is coming back to you and saying, oh, I loved that article in the newsletter, that was so interesting, and you see that you still have 48 of your 50 newsletters, that means the majority of people are probably getting them online. And if you're using Constant Contact or MailChimp, then you're definitely finding out if people are clicking and opening that email. So always provide it electronically and paper if possible. Also, when you are creating your newsletter, it's important to have goals in mind. Are you thinking about how many people you want to subscribe to your newsletter? Or are you thinking about how many you want people to take or open? Having these goals will help you decide if you are meeting your goal and if you're working towards it. The frequency thing, right? It does not matter. If you put it out once a week, if nobody's reading it, then it isn't worth your time. So really your goal should be subscribers and how many people have taken it or opened it. And then you can measure saying, okay, we're really doing a great job because our goal was to have 40 of the 50 paper ones taken, and we've had 45. So that means people are interested. Let's see how we can keep doing what we're doing well. and keep going on our strengths. So have those goals in mind to really keep you focused in your correct direction. So sometimes when people haven't started newsletters, or when they just, say, oh, we have a newsletter, it's fine, thinking about what kind of topics are good for a newsletter can be really important. So always thinking about upcoming events or registrations. I use the example of spring break camp. If that registration is opening soon, I would definitely advertise it and keep advertising it. If you have a cool event coming up, like a activity with the school, promote it. Even if people aren't invited, at least have a picture to say, look at this cool thing that we're going to do or that we did, but talk about that fun stuff. Also share about new initiatives that you're working on. People love to hear what's new. So you might say, we just got 50 new books in the library. We're really excited because we're going to start doing read-alouds once a week with a follow-up activity. Here's an example of the first book we're going to read and the activity. We're going to do it on this day. Make sure to ask your kid about how much fun it was. So let them know about new initiatives. You can also do a Youth of the Month or a Scholar of the Month, Kid of the Month, whatever people want to call it, but some way that you can recognize kids within your program. You can also include learning activities to do at home. So we did this really fun game or art activity here at the program. You can do it at home too. Here's the directions, here's the materials you need. Also share your schedule, theme of the month. The schedule is great because then you hopefully don't have as many kids say, no, I don't want to go home, it's movie club time, I want to finish filming this scene. So having that schedule there can sometimes help parents. They can pin it on the refrigerator and let them know when they're going to go and not have a fight to leave. These are just a couple examples. We will have some example newsletters in the course room for you that you can look over and get some ideas from different people.